Good evening, everybody. We're going to do a quiz. This time, following on from my previous video, felt like the most obvious natural successor would be to look at the flags of the world. So that's what we have in front of us today. Probably going to be a slightly shorter video than last time, which is probably a good thing because the last one went on a little bit longer than I probably would have hoped. So we've got 18 minutes to do this quiz, and we're going to try and name the flag of every single sovereign state in the world as defined by Sporcle.com. Again, the quiz will be in the description of the video, so take a look at it yourself if you'd like to have a go. So a few sort of ground rules before I go into this, because I'm going to hold myself to a couple of sort of house rules to make this just a little bit more challenging. Essentially, I'm going to try and guess all of these flags first time without making any errors. So if I type in the incorrect country, then I'm going to sort of hold myself to account and say that we've got to start again. Hopefully that won't happen. I'm fairly confident that I know these reasonably well. I've done it a couple of times today. It's already gone pretty well. There's a couple of exceptions to that rule. So the first exceptions will be the flags of Chad and Romania. Anybody who's done this quiz before will probably know that the flags of Chad and Romania are effectively the same. It's kind of impossible to tell between them, so I would literally just be guessing 50-50. And the second set of flags that also sort of follow that rule are Indonesia and Monaco. Again, anybody who's done this before will know Indonesia and Monaco, for some strange reason, have the exact same flag. So for those four flags, I'll allow myself to guess twice if necessary, as they are exactly the same. There would be no real way of me telling. For everything else, I have to get it right first time. If I don't, then we go back and we start again. So as you can see, 18 minutes, 197 flags. So, just a little over 10 flags per minute needed, maybe 11, 12 flags per minute needed. I'm going to try and sort of talk through the flags as we go, talk again a little bit about how I remember them, and then also try and add in one or two facts if I know anything worth saying about each of these flags as we go through. So let's get started. So, nice, easy one to start. Chile. Looks a little bit like the flag of Texas. This is Honduras. Bangladesh. Relatively simple flag. This sort of circle on a field design. You'll see it again with Palau's flag later. So this is Samoa, and you can tell all the sort of Asia Pacific countries by the constellation that they have on the flag. A lot of them share the same southern constellations. I don't really know much about the constellation. This is Oman. I know because I find the colours of this flag slightly horrendous, I'll be honest with you. It's not going to be winning any flag design competitions. Sorry if you're from Oman. I'm sure you're very loyal to your flag. Tunisia. This is Tanzania. This is Laos. And so this is a flag that has a very similar counterpart in Europe, which would be Ireland. And I'm sure many people would have guessed Ireland, having seen it. But it's actually the Ivory Coast. I'm going to need to speed up a little bit here. Georgia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Spelling that is the hardest thing to do. That's Latvia. Barbados, obviously an island nation, and also got a trident on its flag. Iraq, pretty sure the text in the middle of this flag says something about God. I'm not quite sure exactly what. This is Italy, fairly straightforward one. Belgium, looks to be a square flag, probably one of the only square flags with the exception of maybe Switzerland. This is Antigua and Barbuda. Again, this is very similar to the Iraq flag that we just saw, but this is actually Syria. There's a few flags, very sort of similar colour schemes and arrangements in that region. Venezuela, very similar to Colombia, except with sort of stars in the middle. This is Bolivia. Central African Republic. So it's quite easy to remember this one because although the African countries are quite hard to do because they often have very similar colour schemes, this one has a band down the middle of it and it's called the Central African Republic. So it makes it a little bit easier to remember. And here's Palau, as we've previously discussed. I have a way of remembering this one. It's Kuwait, and the way I remember is it sort of looks like it's going to make a triangle, but then it's like someone said, wait. Yeah, I know. It's kind of a stupid way of remembering something, but it works for me. I find the best way of remembering some things is just to create a really ridiculous rule. And the more ridiculous, the better, really, because then you're more likely to remember it. So this, I always used to get confused between this flag and Myanmar's flag, although the star on Myanmar's flag is slightly bigger. So this is the first of a cluster of flags which are all looking quite similar. So I think this is El Salvador, but you'll find that Guatemala and Nicaragua's flags are very similar. Mexico, Nepal, the world's only non-quadrilateral flag, Costa Rica, Algeria, Dominica. I believe this is the only flag, I might be wrong, the only flag with the colour purple on it. Colombia, Kazakhstan, pretty distinctive flag. Senegal. So this is one of three African nations with a star in the middle. The others being Cameroon and Ghana. But the stars are all different colours, so it makes it easy to remember which is which. Finland. This is Djibouti. Morocco, again, fairly distinctive. This is Andorra. Easy to get mixed up with Moldova's flag, which looks quite similar to that. As I said, I'm going to have to get a bit of a move on here. Croatia, Kenya, I'm sure these ones, I think these sort of flag quizzes are a good entry level sort of memorization challenge because it's quite visual. Oh, this is a nice flag, probably one of the nicest flags in the entire world, I would say. Seychelles, Cabo Verde, South Korea. Yeah, as I was saying, it's a fairly nice start to trying to memorize lists and things for quizzes. This is Micronesia. New Zealand again, you see that same constellation. Kiribati. I like this flag as well. St. Kitts and Nevis. I always think this looks very similar to like the Congolese flags. I always therefore used to think it was in Africa, but I get mixed up there. But it's not. Sierra Leone. So this is Gambia, Burundi, Czechia, Taiwan. So here's another similar flag to Nicaragua and El Salvador, Guatemala. It's Liechtenstein. Sort of crown there in the top left is what gives away is, I think Liechtenstein's a principality. I'm not sure. Burkina Faso, Trinidad and Tobago. Another Caribbean country with that sort of sash in its flag. And this is Mozambique, I believe likely to be the only country in the world with an automatic firearm on its flag. So here's one of the duplicates that I was talking about before. So this is either Monaco or Indonesia. And I'm going to go for Monaco. No. Indonesia. Fine. So we allow that because they are, as I say, basically exactly the same. This is Zambia. Now this has a very similar colour scheme to a lot of African flags, this sort of yellow, green and red arrangement, but it's actually European. It's Lithuania. Easy to sort of make that mistake. Cuba. And again, this is the last of that sort of three-piece Central American flag trio that confuses people. Nicaragua. This is the Marshall Islands, but it looks very similar to Nauru's flag to me, which you'll see coming up soon. This is a fairly distinctive flag. You won't see many sort of that tribal Zulu shield on it. Argentina. Again, another African flag with that sort of green, yellow, red colour scheme. And this is Benin. I should get this one as it's my country. That's the United Kingdom. Panama. I think this is a really clever flag design because I mean, obviously Panama's famous for its canal, and obviously there's sort of a nice symmetry about this, suggesting crossing. Makes it easy to remember as well. This is Peru. Portugal, wonderful country. Went there last year. This is the UAE, very similar to a lot of other Middle Eastern flags, similar sort of colour scheme. Lesotho. India. Denmark. Sri Lanka. Just going to motor on a little bit here, try and get ahead. So this is Namibia, one that was giving me trouble earlier, but I think I'm getting better at that one now. Cyprus, always great when a country has an outline on its flag. So here's that Nauru flag that looks very similar to the Marshall Islands flag that we saw earlier. Vatican, fairly easy one, another square one, I think. Singapore. This is Rwanda. I always think this looks a bit like a sort of Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan style flag, but it's Rwanda. Cambodia. St. Lucia. That's Uruguay. Easy to get confused with the Argentinian flag on that one. Turkmenistan. Easy to remember because it's got that sort of Turkish carpet design down the left. Vietnam. Madagascar. That's Ecuador. Again, very similar to sort of Venezuela and Colombia. Very easy to get mixed up there. Maldives. North Korea. Malta. Sweden. Scandinavian countries, my favourite. I like this flag. It's a nice design, but it's sort of gives me, it's reminiscent of Xbox. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this probably predates Xbox. But yeah. Papua New Guinea. I always think the colour scheme of this flag is very similar to Angola, which we'll come across later. Myanmar. Ghana. Serbia. So this is the first of 3 flags, Serbia, Slovakia and Slovenia, which have a similar colour scheme with an emblem. You'll see the other 2 coming up soon. So here's a challenging one. I think this is Gabon. That blue stripe at the bottom sort of gives me the clue. Mongolia. Very distinctive sort of emblem on the left-hand side there. Malawi. I like the sort of sunset, sunrise motif. Sunset or sunrise, who knows? Answers on a postcard. Estonia. Quite a unique colour scheme for a flag. Austria. France. Swars. Ooh, almost went wrong there. Somalia is what I was saying. Honestly, you'll have to believe me. USA. I'm trying to balance speed and accuracy here. So this is again another one with sort of the constellation of sort of Pacific, slightly different constellation this time, but it's Tuvalu. Vanuatu, another really nice flag. I think this probably, it looks like it won a design competition or something. Liberia, sort of USA light. So this is one of 2 flags, Guinea and Mali, which are very similar. One goes red, yellow, green. The other goes green, yellow, red. This is Guinea. You just have to remember that. Moldova. Again, as I said previously, it looks very similar to Andorra. Easy to make that mistake. Here's the other Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Spain, distinctive. Philippines. Bulgaria. So this looks very similar to India, but it's actually Niger. Equatorial Guinea. I like this flag because it sort of conjures images of an oasis. It's got a sort of a tree in the middle, a nice palm tree. This is Belize, Iceland, another Scandinavian country. Poland looks very similar to Monaco and Indonesia, but the colours swapped. This is very similar to sort of Syria and Iraq, but this doesn't have anything in the middle, and that's because it's Yemen. Sudan, another sort of, well, it's actually African, but very similar motifs to the Middle Eastern countries. Comoros, not one of my favourite flags, I'll say. A bit too busy on the colour scheme. This is Tonga. Yep. Netherlands. I think this is the first three-color flag in Europe or possibly in the world. I'm not actually sure. I really should look up these facts before I start doing these videos. So this is another one that's very similar to Jordan and Sudan, but it's actually Palestine. Ukraine. This is the other one. What was the other one before Monaco, Indonesia? Can't quite remember. No, it was the other one. Togo. This is Zimbabwe. Timor-Leste. This is Belarus, quite similar to Turkmenistan. Germany. Uganda. So here's Ireland. Looks very similar to the Ivory Coast. Haiti. Haiti? Keep pronouncing that one wrong. Dominican Republic. Oh, Lebanon. I think that's a cedar tree. Very nice tree. Paraguay. Qatar. Looks very similar to Bahrain. Tajikistan. Bhutan. Awesome dragon on the front. So this is Chad or Romania. I'm going to go for Chad. Beautiful. Cameroon with the yellow star in the middle. Grenada. Sao Tome and Principe. The way I sort of remember this is it's got two stars and it's got sort of two components to its name. Brunei. Jamaica. Fairly distinctive one. Macedonia. Or North Macedonia, as it's called, being a bit lazy there in the typing. Bahamas. Israel. So here's Bahrain. Very similar to Qatar. Malaysia. I think we're going to be okay for time. Egypt. Luxembourg. Again, I could think about doing this as fast as I possibly can. I think the fastest I've ever done it is maybe 7-8 minutes. I'm not quite sure. I've not really thought to time myself, but Solomon Islands, Canada. It'd be very difficult to do that whilst also doing commentary as well. I think this is the newest country in the world, South Sudan. Guyana. So this is Jordan. Iran. So this is the one we went for Chad last time, so this will be Romania. Afghanistan. St. Vincent. Well, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I was quite happy to not have to type all of that in. Ethiopia. So I think this is Guinea-Bissau. Again, that same colour scheme, red, yellow, green. And here's another one of the three sort of former Czechoslovakia, former Yugoslavia. This is Slovakia, Angola, Japan, Botswana, Russia. This is Norway, Albania. Yeah, you can see we've got loads of time. So here's the other one that was very similar to Guinea, which went red, yellow, green. This one goes green, yellow, red. And again, there's no real way of distinguishing between them other than to just know which one is which. And this is Mali, Switzerland, and this is the final one of those three with a similar colour scheme. We've done Slovakia, we've done Serbia. This is Slovenia, South Africa, Armenia. I'm really not a fan of that colour at the bottom. I don't know what it is, some kind of almost beige. China, Greece, Libya, quite a contested country at the moment. I believe it actually sort of has, well, West Libya is sort of the UN recognised part of Libya. East Libya is held by a sort of slightly different government, I think, although they claim to be a sort of separatist government. And Libya probably causing, lots of consternation in some people's minds by just putting these not very well researched facts out into the open. Hungary. This is Fiji, a former British colony. And last but certainly not least, looks like we've done this in plenty of time. This is Mauritania, another Islamic country with the sort of crescent moon motif, and there we go, 100%. Every single one. Had a little bit of a bump there in the middle of the road with Somalia. For some reason, my brain wasn't quite functioning for that one, and fortunately, I didn't type in an incorrect name, but I nearly said an incorrect name. But I think I let myself off, considering the rest of it was pretty straightforward. Yeah, I've been a flags fan, a vexillologist. I wouldn't call myself a vexillologist. Again, my knowledge of flags is very superficial. It comes down to just memorizing what each one looks like. Again, very useful for pub quizzes, but something I've been able to do for a little while. It has come in very useful. And again, I'll reiterate, as an entry level quiz, for people who are interested in sort of getting into quizzes and trying to master all of the things you have to memorize to be good at pub quizzes, I'd say flags is a really good place to start. Very visual, very easy to sort of create your own rules to remember things. Quite fun, really. Maybe not fun for everybody, but definitely fun for me. So yeah, that's been really, really good. Another good outcome. I don't know if I can keep this up. That's 2 videos, no mistakes yet. Bound to make one at some point. I can guarantee I'm far from perfect at these things, and I'm sure when I start to do some things that are a bit out of my wheelhouse, I'll start to come across more and more errors and mistakes. But for now, so far so good, and thanks for watching again. Please feel free to suggest anything in the comments that you'd like to see me do in future. I've already suggested in the previous video maybe English monarchs um, or something along those lines, US presidents maybe. That seems like it could be quite interesting. Another, common pub quiz list set that comes up is sort of Oscar winners. And then also Monopoly is one that I'm particularly bad at. So, obviously there's different versions of Monopoly, but trying to learn as many of which roads and squares and such, which locations are on which tiles, that would be quite an interesting one, I think. But hopefully you learn a little bit whilst you're watching these videos, and you don't find it too irritating hearing me talk about these things, and you might join me for the next one. But for now, thank you very much, goodbye, and I'll see you again very soon.